Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint's Pendulum Friday for May 6th. Yeah, May 6th. Um, Thank you for being here. Alrighty, so I'm just gonna get going here. We've got some interesting questions, sort of on a broad range of topics. A couple of them are really sort of not yes, no questions. So I'm gonna sort of do what I can with them. The first one it was Canadian. It's like, would you do a mini reading on how Mark Carney will do as Prime Minister and how Canada will do under his leadership? So I can tell you right now that energetically, um, he's actually making headway. He's not going to have um you know an easy road of it. I mean, not only is he trying to deal with the whole tariff situation, but he's also dealing with some premiers in some provinces who have a lot of demands, but he's making headway, in part because he is so money success, goal oriented, that you know that when that is your focus in a positive way, you can create a lot of momentum and a lot of energy. So as of right now, he's making positive baby steps forward. We shall see. This next question confused me. It said, why was Princess Catherine sick and why did she need surgery? So I don't, there's nothing going on with her recently. Um, Apparently, she returned to work on June 4th, so a couple days ago. The kids, she was not, she wasn't doing her royal duties. She was recovering from, I think it was stomach cancer, but I'm not sure. Um, but the kids have tootled off back to school after whatever break they had, and she has now returned to her official duties. So I'm not sure what to do with the question. I can't certainly, I'm not finding anything where she has been recently ill. Okay, is someone other than Putin in control of the Kremlin? Okay, let's just start at the beginning here. Side to side means that the pendulum is ready to answer questions and that I am protected. Pendulum, show me yes. Back and forth is yes and no, and round is no. Okay, here we go. Is someone other than Putin in control of the Kremlin? No. Is the Putin we know of today actually a Putin double? Okay. What I'm getting is a very small yes. So what I'm hearing is that yes, there is a Putin double, but he sort of gets pulled out for certain events or certain occasions. But the next question is, it's a statement actually. It says the real Putin is incapacitated. Um, that's not the energy that I personally am picking up. It feels like there's a double there who gets sort of pulled out when his energy is low, or there is a concern for physical safety, that kind of thing. But what I am feeling right now is that he is still very much in control. Does Donald and the rest of the U.S. Russian assets know this? Okay, so this pertains to the incapacitation. So I'm going to ask it just this way. Um, are people around the Kremlin, whether they are agents or from other countries, are they aware of the fact that there is a double? That's a yes. All right. A Vedic astrologer said that the planets are aligned with a possibility in June with both Neptune and Saturn in Pisces, ruling oil and gas, for oil spills or attacks on naval ship, possibly explosions around oil rigs or pipelines. June 15th is also possible for an attack on the US or 45. Could you see if this is a possibility in June? Okay, before I forget, Kathy, the amazing astrologer from Professional Aquarian, her and I are getting together and we're going to be recording a video next week. So you will see it sort of the Monday, the week after, because we're recording it later in the week. So mark your calendars for the 16th of June, because as long as everything goes the way it's supposed to, on that date, I will be releasing the latest video that Kathy has consented to do for us. So I'm just gonna break this question down a little bit. Is June going to be particularly dangerous or problematic when it comes to safety, security of oil and gas? Is it going to be particularly problematic? That's a yes. I'm sorry. I'm not going to drill down more than that on where or how. That kind of thing can just create, panic, and it's a pendulum. And nothing is 100%. So I'm not going to say something that gets people all riled up and I'm misinterpreting or the energy shift or change. But I will ask this: is there heightened danger around 45? That is a yes. You got to figure at some point he's just going to really aggravate the wrong person. This is an interesting one. Is there a possibility of a glacier melt causing a landslide in the lower 48 of the United States, similar to what happened in Switzerland? Okay. I'm just going to revert the question a little bit. In the next 2 years, is it likely that there is going to be a significant glacier melt, which is going to create environmental problems in the lower 48? That's the United States. That's a yes. Now, I have to say, what I'm seeing is not a landslide so much as rising ocean levels and then sort of flooding. That's what I'm seeing. Okay, Cyndy, I feel so horrible about not being able to do much of anything towards saving the democracy in the US. My disabilities have me frozen. She can't go to protest. I did actually answer this. I just didn't attach it to the statement. And what I said was, this is the thing. People who can protest are protesting. People who are praying are praying. People who are doing light work are doing light work. And so everybody is doing what they can. And that's what you remember. There is no one action that is sort of better than the other. They all come together sort of to create a tapestry of energy. And so whatever you are able to do and contribute is absolutely perfect. The only suggestion that I have, I'm going to finish reading the question in a second, but the only other suggestion I have is that particularly light workers, focus your energy on helping people in positions of power and authority to see, embrace, acknowledge the light. There's a lot of energy, darker energy around a lot of these people, and it's not, I almost want to say it's not of their making. It's sort of the environment that they're in. And as you know, as what happens with darker energy, they tend to feel stuck and trapped and like they don't know what to do. And so if in doubt, send light. And hopefully that will help them be able to move forward in a way that is more positive than where they're at right now. Now, um, okay. All right. Would you please be so kind as to suggest wording for what we could say when calling representatives? I just can't think exactly what to say. I don't blame you. That's kind of like a hard thing when you're making a phone call or you're sending a message. You know, you don't want to go on and on, but you want to make sure you get your point across. I will tell you that again, Kathy Beale at Professional Aquarian had like almost like a transcript that she posted that was, this is what you can say to your representative with regards to this topic or that topic. So you might want to go check out her um her YouTube channel. And I know that she has other um media platforms, but I saw the ones that I'm thinking about and that I saw them come through on YouTube. So that's it. They're also, um, you would be better off, for example, contacting like a group like Indivisible or one of those, asking for some guidance on what you should be focusing on in terms of who you should be talking to, what you should be screaming the loudest about, and how you say what you need to say in a way that is most effective. I'm not the person to give you that insight. Excuse me, there's people who are way more qualified and can do that for you. Um, okay, when will it stop there playing games with us? Well, um, I'm just not sure who they is. So let's I thought ask it this way. Are some of the political stunts that are going on, are they actually having the intended effect when it comes to impacting the people of the United States? Okay, that's a no. So energetically, what that means is that, yeah, it's getting people stressed out. It's getting people anxious and worried. Absolutely. But when it comes to actually creating significant change that is going to hold, right, that's going to get all the way through the court systems and actually adhere to whatever crazy executive order he pumps out, um, that is not happening. He is losing far more than he is winning. And the the legal society by and large, the court system have about had it with him. And so he's going to find that it's more and more difficult to get um rulings that he likes. and more difficult for him to be able to speed something through the system. So if there's a ruling that he doesn't like, normally what they do is they just instantly, appeal it to the Supreme Court. But it's going to get to a place where the Supreme Court is just going to say, no, we're not going to look at that one. No, we're not going to look at that one. And so he's overplayed. He has, and the Department of Justice have really overplayed their cards when it comes to some of this legal wrangling and maneuvering they're doing. And ultimately, it is not serving them well, and it will not serve them well. Do I see a major health event for 45 in the month of June of this year? Is there going to be any significant health concerns or issues? That's a strong yes. Well, somebody sees this plane of his as payment for his legal obligations. Good question. Um, so from what I can understand, that plane from Qatar or Qatar, depending on how you say it, is sitting somewhere in Texas. But from what I can understand, it hasn't been handed over to either him or whatever department it was supposed to be in, pretending to go to. Um, because they want him to fess up and admit that he asked for this plane. It was not sort of offered on a silver platter as a gift. Now, let's just stop for a second and find out if that's actually true, because both parties that are talking about this lie through their teeth. So no one's exactly sure who says what and how accurate it is. So let's find out. Um, did 45 ask to receive as a gift the plane that he wants to utilize as the presidential Air Force One, the presidential plane? Did he ask them to give it to him, basically? I'd say yes. Okay. And apparently, they also want assurance that if the plane is sold by the US to anyone else, that Qatar has no responsibility for the plane. Which is sort of like, you would almost just think in the normal course of events they wouldn't have. That would be like saying, you own a house and you're selling the house and something goes wrong, and the people who bought the house from you go after the people who you bought the house from. Like, it doesn't make sense. Um, so let's broaden it out a bit. Are there a series of conditions attached to gifting / giving the plane to 45? There are. Why is this doing that? Okay. Yes. Will 45 actually pardon Sean Combs? So that's Diddy, right? Right now, it is a small yes. So it's sort of like it's something he's considering. It's going to depend on whether or not 45 gets smeared in this court case. Um, and what his response to that is, because on the one hand, it could anger him and then he's kind of like, you're on your own there, buddy. Or he could choose to look at doing the pardon as a way of absolving himself, as if to say, I'm doing the pardon because all this was, fake news. um but right now, I guess it's a small consideration. Um, did Musk and Miller and his wife have a throuple? I guess is how you say that. So it would be a threesome. Um, well, so did they? No. Apparently, she has left Stephen Miller and is now going with EM. Is that correct? Okay. Was the marriage of the relationship between Stephen and his wife going through a difficult time prior to bringing EM in as sort of head of Doge? Were they already having difficulties? Okay, and that's a yes. And again, I'm not digging any deeper than that. Um, some things just have to be left private. And no matter what kind of a scary, dangerous, insane person I think he may be, um, being sort of publicly humiliated that way, um, it has to be difficult. It has to be painful. And I'm not going to add, fuel to the fire that's already burning, as it were. Are there any GOP Congress men or women in danger of retribution against them by their constituents? That's a yes. They are not taking the voters' anger seriously. They still are of the opinion that they can just sort of bamboozle them with words or kind of pat them on the head and say, you just don't understand how this, how this works. Um, Slowly, I think some of them are starting to realize that this is a problem. Um, because part of what they're trying to do is, you know, never mind the tax break for the wealthy. That's horrendous enough. But look at every time you turn around, Trump has gone to Mar-a-Lago. Those weekend trips of his are outrageously expensive, like millions of dollars it costs for him to do his little, I'm going to run home to, Florida for a couple of days. Um, and slowly but surely, people are waking up and they're going, wait a minute, you are destroying safety nets that a lot of us depend on, including veterans. And you just want to keep bouncing around and partying and giving perks to your millionaire friends. People are getting more and more agitated and more aware because they're starting now to feel the impact of some of the decisions that were made and some of the cuts were made. And even though my understanding is that the budget did not get past the Senate. They voted it down. I'm not sure what happens, and I don't know if it gets reworked, it goes back to the House. Like, I'm not sure what the sort of sequence of events are. But more and more is coming out, and people are starting to recognize that by and large, they're the ones who are going to be negatively impacted. And they're not feeling very kindly towards the Trump administration, nor are they feeling particularly kindly towards their government reps. Is Elon about to talk about what he did in the election to help Trump win? Now, so I did see he made a statement that basically said, without me, he would have lost. So is he going to spill any more information about what he did beyond what is already publicly known and verified, like huge donations? So yes. One of the things that the angry toddler in the White House doesn't understand is that there are people out there who have a great deal more resources and power at their disposal than he does, because he is completely wrapped up in this fantasy that the United States president is the most powerful person on the planet. That may well have been true at some point. It is not true with this buffoon in the office. The rest of the world is laughing at him. So he doesn't have the gravitas to actually do some of the stuff he's doing. And when you start antagonizing people who are in a position of basically power over you, and that's what you get when you allow somebody to donate whatever it was, $250 million, I don't even know what it was, to a campaign to sort of shove somebody into the White House because you think that that was going to benefit you. He hasn't figured out that there are just some people that you shouldn't make that angry. Is JD Vance planning on taking over the Oval? What I'm getting there is a small yes. I think the energy around him is not necessarily taking it over as much as there is a sense of needing to be prepared um, for the potential of needing to step in. Is Musk going to expose Dumpy's secret about what went on in Saudi Arabia? That is also a yes. 45 has not made a public appearance since the weekend. What do you see? Okay, so this is the thing. He hasn't made a public appearance, but he's been on the golf course. So it's not like he's hiding out. It's not like something has happened to him health wise and they're keeping him sort of wrapped up and secluded. He's on the golf course. So whatever's going on, and I suspect part of it may simply be that the I want to say the pressure is getting to him, but he thrives in situations that have a lot of pressure. I mean, he loves being in chaos, right? That's his thing. Um, so let me just ask this way and see if we can get some clarity. Um, is Has Trump spent this past week at Mar-a-Lago on the golf course something that he is doing um, as a recovery or a health um, tactic? That's yes. One has to wonder if, let's just ask, uh, is his blood pressure or was his blood pressure getting to a level that would be just considered flat dangerous? Yes. So somewhere along the way, somebody said, go play golf, relax, breathe. Um, will Vance ever actually be in the Oval Office as president? I'm sure he's in the Oval Office all the time. Um, is Vance going to be a sitting US president? Right now, that's a yes. Yeah. Don't forget, the pendulum talks about what the energy that now, okay? The final question is, how did EM get his black eye? So I was sort of pre-reading the questions before I sat down to record. And so I said, so how did he get his black eye? And this was the information that I got. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. But what I was shown was somebody who was significantly impaired by some sort of a substance. And this was more about him losing his balance, tripping and falling into something, or tripping and going down and hitting the corner of his eye with something. I'm not getting that this was some sort of a physical altercation. This is something that, based on what I was shown, that something that happened when he was by himself, as it were, but under an influence of something. Alrighty, that's what I know. Okay. Thank you so very, very much for being here. So we can, you know the drill, right? Something good for yourself and someone else. Take good care of yourself. Until next week, take care and be well. Bye for now.